Thank you very much. I have a brief announcement, and then I'll take your questions. The Secretary will hold an honor cordon for the Greek Prime Minister Constantine Simitis this afternoon at 4:30, but there will not be a photo opportunity following that honor cordon. It's a change from our previous plan. The Secretary changed it for scheduling reasons. Take your questions on the photo.
Outside at the entrance, like they did once before.
I don't believe they will. It'll just be a straight honor cordon. The President met with the Prime Minister of Greece today. There was a readout after that meeting. We don't think anything's changed.
Can you update us on? I know we haven't been on the whatever plans there might be underway for the evacuation of Americans from Liberia. Understanding that we've not had the benefit, many of us, of what might have been said at the State Department already.
Well, I can tell you that the assessment team of 6 Special Forces personnel arrived approximately an hour and a half ago, and shortly thereafter, the security enhancement team of 18 SEALs also arrived to Monrovia. They are assessing the situation, and they will confer with the ambassador and decide what to do next. Now, I should tell you that the helicopters are not going to be returning empty. So some people will go out, probably about 25 passengers per helicopter will leave when those helicopters return. I don't frankly know whether the helicopters have left yet. I can try to find out. But later.
Two helicopters?
Yeah, 2 helicopters.
Ken, can you give us an idea of what the state of the airport is? Is it usable?
The state of the airport, as I understand it, is closed, but it is usable. There were 2 Liberian helicopters, or maybe they were UN helicopters, I guess, that were damaged at the airport yesterday. The airport could be used. I understand the landing tower has been damaged at the airport. But these helicopters did not use the airport, and we don't right now anticipating having to use the airport, but that could change.
What kind of helicopters are
they? They were MH-53s.
Can you tell us this? Would you characterize this as less than a full-scale evacuation at this point? Is this just a sort of voluntarily transporting people?
These people who left, if they have left yet, were volunteers. Now, let me put this in perspective. There are 470 American citizens in Liberia, we estimate. Of those, 110 are in the embassy compound. The others are basically in Monrovia in several other compounds. One is the Save the Children Federation compound. Another is the compound owned by a bank. I don't know the name of the bank. And there's several other compounds. They're all in radio contact. Of the approximately 470 American citizens in Liberia, 38 are government officials or associated with the government. Of those, 5 are spouses and 5 are Marine Guards. The Marine Guard complement in Monrovia is generally 7, but 2 are on leave, so there are 5 Marine Guards there now. Yes, Mark?
Do you consider this a permissive or a non-permissive evacuation?
Well, the fighting has died down some. It seems to be a little calmer today than it was in earlier days. The assessment team is making an evaluation right now. That's why we have an assessment team, to evaluate things. As I said, the people who either have left or will leave when the helicopters go out, so they won't go out empty, will be volunteers.
Ken, these 18 SEALs, the security enhancement team, as you call it, they're to provide security, I take it additional security. Are they also to make a decision on whether more security will be brought in?
Well, the assessment team, the assessment team technically is doing that, the 6 people. These are all special forces. They're all trained in certain skills, and one of which has to be security evaluation. But to the extent that I think the way to look at it is that one team will actually take up the job of providing greater security to the embassy compound and the American citizens in it, and the others in it, those are the SEALs. The other, well, they're doing that and concentrating on doing what security guards and agents do. The other 6 will be concentrating on other things, reviewing, talking with the ambassador, talking with the employees, surveying the situation, maybe going out and talking with local authorities, observing the situation. I don't know how much they'll travel around, but their job is to help the ambassador to decide what to do next.
What branch of the service are those 6 from? Are they
I
from
believe
different
they're
services?
Army.
They're Army.
Yes, Joe.
Have you received any assurances from the fighting factions that they will allow safe passage of Americans? To this point, they haven't attacked Americans.
It's probably more appropriate to ask that question of the State Department. My understanding is that the 2 factions, the 2 major factions, have made it clear that they are not interested in attacking Americans. They're interested in attacking each other. Our position is, of course, that they should cease fighting, that they should return to the provisions of the peace process that was started last August. They should disarm, they should demobilize, and they should hold national elections to solve the country's problems. But as you know, this country has been troubled for some time. There were 2 other evacuations earlier in the last 6 years, and of American citizens from Liberia. So it's been a dangerous place.
Ken, what are the numbers and kinds of helicopters and aircraft that are in Sierra Leone waiting? How many helicopters?
Well, it's been reported that there are 2 C-5As in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and there are several helicopters.
Can you tell us how many?
I'd rather not right now.
Is it likely that you would continue the evacuations, the ones that you're calling voluntarily at this point, during the night, or would you wait for daylight?
I can't answer that question. That's the type of thing that would be more appropriate to ask of the State Department. Remember, we're essentially following the State Department's lead here, and a lot of these questions I think you should take to them. We're there to support the State Department and to do what we can to protect, 1, diplomats, and 2, American citizens generally, not in that order, but those are the 2 groups we're there to work with.
These 50 people that are going out, are they spouses and children?
I
They said they're volunteers.
I don't know how many. There are only 5 spouses there. I doubt if there are a lot of children, but I can't answer that question. Tammy?
Any foreign nationals? Do you know?
Pardon?
Any foreign nationals, do you know, Joe? Are these all Americans, these 50?
Well, Charlie, the helicopters just arrived recently. They may or may not have left. This is sort of a real-time return at this stage, and I just don't know who or even precisely how many people are on these helicopters. I don't know what provision Ambassador Milam had made for making the decision on who will go on the helicopters.
2 questions.
Sure.
Number 1 is, do you have enough helicopters there to evacuate all the Americans if that is ordered, A, and then I'll come back to you with the second question.
Well, I guess the question is over what time. Yes, we have enough helicopters there to evacuate all the people, should that decision be made, if we're given enough time. Pardon?
In the time frame desired.
Those are decisions that are yet to be made.
And the second question is, the assessment team originally was reported to, they were supposed to be in around first light today, and they didn't get there until very recently. What's accounting for the delay?
Well, first of all, I don't think there was ever a formal announcement of when the assessment team was going to arrive, but military operations are complex, and sometimes in complex operations, things happen when they happen.
Are you aware if the United States has received any requests from other countries to assist in the evacuation of their citizens from Monrovia?
I understand from talking to the State Department that we have, but you should probably talk to the State Department about that.
Can you give us your assessment of the situation there, why an evacuation is necessary, the level of danger, the level of hazard?
The situation has been dangerous in that there are basically there were warring factions. There were bullets being fired. As I said, the airport has been damaged. The tower's been hurt. People basically have migrated to compounds where there's some degree of safety. They've tried to pull together and get out of areas where the factions are rampaging around. It's basically not a situation where factions are targeting Americans or even any foreign groups in Monrovia, but it's a situation where security cannot be guaranteed. And in that type of situation, we and other countries will think about efforts to provide better security to our people.
Do you know if any other countries are doing this, have offered to take part in evacuations?
Well, I think the appropriate question is, are other countries considering evacuating their own people? And I think that the other countries should speak for themselves on that. I don't think it's appropriate for me as a Defense Department person to talk about what other countries are considering.
Would
Brad?
U.S. military involvement be limited to an evacuation?
Well, if the State Department decides to evacuate, I believe that would be the extent of U.S. military involvement. As I say, this is not a situation where we're a participant, where Americans are being targeted or sought in any way. This is a situation where we and other diplomats and NGO officials are trying to get out of the way, stay out of trouble, stay safe. So the military is there to help Americans stay safe in whatever way the State Department determines is best. Tammy?
Has it yet been determined the 50 people who are coming out tonight, where they will be flown?
Let me back away from that for a minute, okay? The helicopters are not going to leave empty. They have a capacity for about 25, okay, people each. I don't want to be nailed down to 50 people, and if 53 go, I'm accused of holding back information, or if 43 go. This is approximately, okay?
50.
Right.
Has it been determined where Air Force transports will fly them once they arrive in Freetown? Or will they
Well, how do you know they'd be flown by Air Force transports?
Well,
Once they get to Freetown, presumably commercial air will be available, but I think those are second-order decisions. And the most important decision right now is to take whatever actions we believe are necessary and the State Department believes are necessary to protect the people who are there.
Is it likely you will have to set up another regional operating base other than Freetown? I understand it's a very small airport and could get congested easily.
Interesting question, which I can't answer.
Are any ships being moved toward the area?
Well, Navy ships are some days away from the area, and I think that if ships were used at all, it would be more reasonable to look at commercial ships that might be possible carriage for people out. And all of those issues are being considered now by us and by other countries.
Do you think it would be necessary to put in additional security people? I understand that there is a fairly significant backup group to the one that you have actually on the ground.
Well, that's always an option, but of course we wouldn't discuss such operational detail as that at this time.
If you discuss how many are on the ground, what difference does it make? How many might be in backup?
Because the ones on the ground are already there and presumably can be observed. Ones who might be coming in, we would just like to let people like you guess.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh, can we just ask a question? Just a quick update on Korea. Has anything significant happened there in the last 24 hours? Has the situation calmed down? Are you on a lesser state of observation or anything?
The short answer to your question is that, that nothing has happened in the last 48 hours or so. There have not been any more incursions by the North Koreans into the peace area, and it appears now to be calm. But we're watching the situation. As you know, the only thing we've done in Korea is to increase our so-called watch condition, or WatchCon. And we increased it from what's called WatchCon 3 to WatchCon 2, which is basically increasing it from a situation of potential crisis, that's 3, to a WatchCon 2 probable crisis. We continue to survey the situation very, very closely, but basically, the last 2 nights, nothing has happened.
But you haven't gone back to WatchCon 3? That's one question.
We have not, but we reserve the right to move one way or the other. But there's been no reason to change our assessment this time. I want to also stress, there's been no movement, no unusual movement of U.S. troops or personnel in response to this. There's basically been no change in our military posture. What has changed is our security monitoring posture, our surveillance posture, basically.
Thank you.
Just one, sorry,
I have
one
a
more.
question. It is reported that North Koreans dug new trenches between the 2 guard posts in joint security area, and they also installed some mortar launcher over there. What are you going to do with that? Do you demand the restoration of the original state terrain over there?
Well, I have to check on the status of that. My understanding is they moved in some material and then moved it out. This, of course, is an issue for the Republic of Korea and the UN, as well as for the U.S. to consider. But my understanding is they moved some things in and then they moved them out, and there's been no permanent change in the situation. But I will double check that, and if you in fact check with Major Manuel, he'll find out if they have left anything behind. Thank you.
Thank you.